things can move forward. Um, so right now, some people, activists, are calling for an arrest in that case. So we'll be talking about that. We also got Kiana. Kiana's an activist here in St. Paul, Minnesota. Say what's up, Kiana.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, good. So we're just gonna go over a couple things real quick with you, Kiana, that we can talk about here on the show today. And I just want to get your opinions about that. First of all, when you seen what happened to Joseph Washington, the man that was shot, you got to speak at the action. You spoke. It was really powerful. Like what you said. What did you feel about? How did you feel about what happened to Joseph Washington when he was shot last Saturday night?
Yeah, so if people watched the video, they would have seen that he was naked and hiding in the dumpster. And so my first thought was he could be having some sort of mental health crisis. And so when he came out of the trash can, that's when they sent the dog on him. And so he was already getting like bit, and then they tased him, and then still they shot him. So if he's naked, tased, and attacked by a dog, in what shape or form is he like showing a threat? Where does he need to be shot in that situation? And the answer is never. In my opinion, the cops did terrible de-escalation tactics. I don't think dogs should be used because if you look back in the day, that's what they used on us, on our ancestors. So it's not really. It just holds a deeper meaning to us and them. This with the dog just shows that they're still within that racist mindset.
I would just think like my next door neighbor be doing some subtle stuff with his dog, and I know it's racist, but I can't really put my hands on it. But I'm glad you just brought that up because that reminds me of our history with dogs, as far as black people being at marches, having dogs sicked on them, or slave patrols where they would have the armed dogs chasing down slaves. President Barack Obama, I know I looked up to him. I still respect him, still admire him, but he made some comments earlier this week. I'm gonna play them, and then I want to get your feedback on this real quick.
Okay.
So yeah, he said, hold on 1 second. So he said some things, and some people were concerned about Mr. Obama's statements.
Yeah, I seen it. So I know.
Okay. And I'm having trouble playing it right now. So I'll just read it. It says, "You lost a big audience the minute you say it." He said, "As soon as you say defund the police, you lose a big audience." And a lot of people were upset that Mr. Obama said this the other day.
Yeah, so when I seen that he said
Here
that.
you go. Here it is, Rip.
So, but fairly, I guess you can use a snappy. You believe, as I do, that we should be able to reform the criminal justice system so that it's not biased and treats everybody fairly. I guess you can use a snappy slogan like defund the police, but you lost a big audience the minute you say it, which makes it a lot less likely that you're actually going to get the changes you want done. But if you instead say, let's reform the police department so that everybody's being treated fairly, divert young people from getting into crime. And if there's a homeless guy, maybe we send a mental health worker there instead of an armed unit that could end up resulting in a tragedy. Suddenly, a whole bunch of folks who might not otherwise listen to you are listening to you. So the key is deciding, do you want to actually get something done, or do you want to feel good among the people you already agree with? And if you
So, Ms. Williams, how do you feel about Mr. Obama's statements on defunding the police that he made to the Guardian?
Like you said, you respect him. I still respect him, but what he said was definitely out of line. I think Obama is slightly scared to disappoint his white audience that support him. So I think he wants to say things that favor everyone, and sometimes you kind of have to just favor the people that need to be favored. And in this case, it's Black people. And I think people are so scared of hearing defund the police that they're not even looking into what it really means. We're not saying that we don't want the police in a sense. We just want them to be funded or defunded because they're not utilizing their funds in the way that it should be used. And if people are crying about us saying defund the police, then that obviously means that they're comfortable with us, with Black death happening or continuing to happen. They don't care that they're not they're not uncomfortable with the idea of the slogan. They're just comfortable with the idea of Black people still being killed. They don't really care because it's not affecting them. So hearing defund the police just automatically to their mind just means we hate the police and we don't want the police, but they're not really doing the research behind it.
That's what's up. So, which brings us to, and I'm glad you've been doing the research and doing the work. You're having a rally this Saturday, and it's going to be at the police department on the east side, off of Minnehaha and Payne, 722 Payne Avenue, because that's the department that the people who shot Joseph Washington are working on. And we don't want to confront any Trump supporters or things like that, so we're going to let them be at where they're at, and we're going to be at where we're at. Can you tell us a little bit about why you're having this rally on Saturday?
Saturday, yep, December 12th. It's actually at the Minnesota State Capitol.
Okay.
And it's from 3 to 5. So my friends and I came up with this idea of defunding the police, and originally it was to protest against the Minneapolis Police Department getting more funds. So I guess that's still the case, but as we see, Joseph Washington was just shot for no reason. And then just on December 4th, I don't know if you've seen it, his name's Casey Goodson. He was just shot and killed by the police, by U.S. Marshals, for being suspected as a fugitive when he really wasn't a fugitive. So now that my rally's coming up, it just shows that this is much needed and that we need to defund the police, because they operate on racial stereotyping and racial biases, and it just shows that every time a Black person steps out of their house, they are a target. I just watched a video yesterday of this white man refusing to get out of his car, and it took him 10 times, and then he got to get dragged out of his car peacefully. Versus if a Black man said no, he's automatically a target and automatically could be at risk for getting shot. So we are putting on this to defund the police, find a way to get our voices heard, because the system has to be reformed. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt. So again, if you want to sign up for that rally, you can go to the BLM Minnesota page, or you can go to the Green Party Black Caucus page, or Green Party of Minnesota page. Kiana Williams is the chair of the police brutality chair of the police brutality committee for the Green Party Black Caucus here in Minnesota, and she's doing great work. Gave an excellent speech at our rally on Wednesday. She's organizing a wonderful, powerful rally for this Saturday. So make sure that you RSVP for that and show up. If you can bring any water, any face mask, any gloves, anything you can donate to the march would be helpful. Any last things that you would want people to know, Keon? Oh, yeah. Any last things?
Just share the event, please. I want as many people to show up as we can. Our voices are heard in numbers, so the more people we have, the better outcome it's going to be. And yeah.
No doubt. Thank you for coming on. Again, that's Kiana Williams. She's an organizer with BLM Minnesota and the Green Party Black Caucus. Yeah. Thank you for coming on. See you Saturday.
Thank you. See you Saturday.
All right, peace. No doubt. So, we got a lot going on right now. We're going to get ready to talk to my next guest, Deanna. And she has a really heartbreaking story that we're going to talk about. And she's going to tell us something a lot of us know about what happened to George Floyd back in the spring, but we don't know what happened to Deanna's loved one. And we're going to talk about that next, right here on the Trahern Show on WFNU 94.1 FM, Frog Town Tune Down Radio.
Awesome. Can you hear me? Perfect. Well, Trey, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak on this platform. I just want to tell you a little bit about what happened to my older brother this summer. So after the George Floyd murder that took place on May 25th, which was also my birthday, a week later, my oldest brother was murdered in a hate crime in Moorhead, Minnesota. He was walking with his girlfriend who was white, so they were an interracial couple. Walking back to her apartment complex in the late evening, she wanted to go home and gather some items just because she had been staying at his. So he decided to take her to her apartment complex to gather some items. On their way to the apartment complex, they were confronted by some individuals outside of the apartment complex and harassed. And after his girlfriend had told these individuals to leave them alone, they proceeded to attack both the girlfriend and my brother. And my brother was jumped and beaten to death and had died later on in the hospital at Sanford Medical in Fargo, North Dakota.
Wow.
And so right now there's a the pending case going on where we're going through plea proceedings, and there's this upcoming sentence hearing next week. So not this Monday, but the following Monday, the 14th. And I have put together a petition, a change.org petition to demand higher charges be brought to an accomplice in the murder. There's 2 individuals that have been arrested. So I'm very thankful for Moorhead Police for arresting these individuals in such a timely manner. They were actually arrested that same night that they had committed this crime. These were individuals that, had stolen a vehicle the same night. They're known criminals in the Moorhead place, in Moorhead society. They're no stranger to the courtroom. So these are very familiar faces with felonies. And there's a guy and girl, and the girl, her charges were reduced, which we don't really understand as a family why her charges were reduced. And so we're fighting against that right now. And we're hoping that when we arrive for the sentence hearing, that the judge will hear us out and bring forth higher charges for her, because she was an accomplice. She initiated the attack. She watched my brother be beaten to death. She fled the scene with the other individuals. And so I just have a really hard time understanding why, she's not facing the same charges as the other individuals that have been involved in this case. And so I'm just asking for everyone's support to sign my change.org petition. That way I can bring that forward to the judge, and hopefully they'll do the right thing.
Now, just real quick, tell us about your brother. Tell us who he was and what type of person he was.
Yeah. So my brother was the go-to person. Anyone who needed advice, anyone who needed a place to stay that was homeless, he was always opening up his apartment complex to individuals. A number of his friends and strangers showed up to his funeral. We had over 250 people, we had over 250 people show up to his funeral to pay their respects to him. My brother was employed at a company called Solid Comfort in Fargo, North Dakota for 11 years. Mm-hmm. He was employed the year, numerous years, and he was just loved by everyone. My brother was not a person that was involved in gangs, any type of violence. So when we first heard about him being assaulted, it came as a complete shock. Because like I said, he hadn't even gotten into an altercation with these individuals. These individuals were harassing him and his girlfriend, and he tried to walk away from the situation, and these individuals attacked him. And even recently, when we went through some plea proceedings, the main individuals who attacked him had pleaded guilty. And he even said that the killing itself was so senseless. There was no reason to kill my brother. And so it makes me believe that this is something that is hate-driven. The fact that you would kill the person that didn't say anything to you, that tried to walk away from the situation, and instead, his girlfriend, I do feel sorry for his girlfriend, because she's living with survivor's remorse. She's the one who, had the verbal exchange with these individuals. And my brother, unfortunately, was the bystander that was murdered in that instance. And I truly believe it's because they didn't value his life as a Black man. And that's why they proceeded to beat him to death, where they had fractured his skull and he had internal bleeding.
My God. I'm so I apologize that this story is just now getting out there, and I wish, especially BLM Minnesota, would have got wind of it earlier so that we could, help you and
Yeah.
be there for you and stuff like that. So we're gonna help you get the word out about this. This is a travesty. More people need to know about this. What's your brother's name? So just tell us if you're okay with that, so people can know and we can lift him up.
So Richard Alhaj Stephen is his name. Alhaj is spelled Alhag, and then Stephen is a Phen. But he was only 33 years young when he was murdered.
Yeah, that's when he was in Sanford Medical.
Mm-hmm.
Was he treated good and everything?
They did the best that they can, but unfortunately, when you suffer a fracture in your skull and there's internal bleeding, there's really not much that can happen unless you're taken to the hospital right away. I don't know. There was a delay in him, getting taken to the hospital for whatever reason. That's something that we're still trying to understand. But the Sanford Hospital did everything that they could to help. Moorhead Police did everything they could to help. They, investigated everyone. They brought forth the preliminary charges that we did agree with. But right now, it's up to the prosecutor and it's up to the judge to hand out the final sentencing. So we're just hoping that they will do the right thing by my brother. Individual, a law-abiding citizen that was just murdered for absolutely no reason by criminals, right? These are criminals of the state.
No doubt. And so you want this to be a hate crime, correct?
Yes, I believe this.
Right now, they're currently being charged as what?
So right now, one individual is getting charged with second-degree murder, and the other one with a third-degree assault.
Okay, and so if people want to sign a petition, or if anybody else, if any other news organization or organizations want to reach out to you, how can people contact you?
So they can contact me on Facebook. I'm available on Facebook. They can send me a message. I can have my email out so they can reach out to me via email. Really, the change.org petition is where I would love to get. I send updates to my supporters about the hearings and things of that such. I send articles because there were a couple of articles that did come out early on that were just local to Moorhead area, but that's ways that they can connect with me. But yeah, directly on my Facebook, it's Diana Stephen, and then on the change.org petition, if they sign, they'll see further updates in the case.
Okay, and what's the quickest way to get to the petition if people just right now want to sign it?
So if they type in, they could type in Richard Alhaj Stephen, change.org, and the petition should come up that way. I could also drop it in the chat here.
Okay. And if you go to the BLM Minnesota page, we're going to put it up there and we're going to pin it up there for a couple of days so that people can sign that petition and that we can start getting some justice for Richard, like right now, and get this story out and let people know about what happened to him.
The two suspects that have been arrested, it's all public record, Cameron St. Clair and Aaron Sunby.
Okay. Thank you for your strength and our deepest condolences to you. We're going to help you get the word out so that your family can get the justice that they deserve.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Feel free to come back and give us any updates as this starts to go on. We'll put that petition up there tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Trey. I really appreciate it.
No problem. God bless you.
God bless you too. You take care.
All right, you too. Peace.
Bye.
And that was Deanna speaking on behalf of her brother, Richard Stevenson, who was murdered and beat to death by white supremacists. We're really hoping that justice is going to be served. In that situation, there's been a lot going on this weekend. So please go to the BLM page, BLM Minnesota Facebook page, and you'll see the petition there about 9:15, and make sure that you sign that petition. Look that story up. If you want to do it right now, Google his name. It's Richard Alhaj Stevenson, and he needs justice. So please go on and sign that petition. You're listening to the Trahern Crew Show on 94.1 FM, Frogtown Community Radio. No doubt. So, a lot of you might know that we have a big rally coming up. So these are the events that are coming up real quick. We got Defund the Police. No doubt. So these are the events we got coming up. We got Defund the Police coming up this Saturday. I believe we're moving that to 722 Payne Avenue. That's the police department on the east side. Then we have the MLK rally coming up this weekend. In Martin Luther King Day. Make sure you sign up for that. And we also have the Inauguration Day protest in Washington, D.C., where we'll be stepping in to demand full and complete reparations for the American descendants of chattel slavery. We'll also be demanding full police accountability. I want to say something real quick, man, about I want the governor, Mayor Fry, and others to drop the charges against the 646 who marched on the freeway, and there's some other who engaged in protest a couple weeks ago after the election. The people who are, but I also want to speak to the protesters too. So this is what's going on right now. You guys went out and protest. Some people protested and said, we want to stop Donald Trump. Don't let Donald Trump steal the election. The people who arrested you are part of the Democrat Party structure. Mayor Fray's a Democrat. Tim Walz is a Democrat. I believe the Department of Transportation is a Democrat. And you guys went out and protested, and then you got arrested and kettled for hours and hours by some Democrats. But you were protesting on their behalf. Then, when Trump throws a rally, or Trump supporters are out having a rally, you're doing a counter protest. So I'm a little confused. And I definitely, governor, drop the charges. Whoever, drop the charges. But going forward, let's think these things out. Especially when you have young black children out there who can't afford to have charges like that. George Floyd, the movement and everything that we've been doing this past summer, all that energy is around the murder of George Floyd and what happened to him. And George Floyd doesn't need a people's agenda. George Floyd needs a black agenda. Jamar Clark doesn't need a people's agenda. Jamar Clark needs a black agenda. Marcus Golden needs a black agenda, right? Philando Castile needs a black agenda, not a people's agenda, because all the people aren't being killed by the police. The people who are being killed by the police are black men. That's why we need a black agenda. Okay? So we want, please, whoever's in charge, city leaders, drop the charges against the 646. But going forward, when we're doing things for Black lives, or we have Black Lives Matter signs, make sure that we are marching for a Black agenda. Because a lot of times our issues get pushed to the back and then people get arrested for things. So I heard the homeboy say what the people's agenda was, and I was like, damn, none of that really has nothing to do with us. There's nothing about reparations in there. George Floyd needs reparations. His family needs reparations. His mother, his children. Marcus Golden family, Jamar Clark, we know these people need repair, and they need reparatory justice. So that's why we're talking about a Black agenda. Okay? Martin Luther King, at the end of his sojourn, was for a Black agenda. Specific policies targeting the Black community. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? Also, reparations that we are fighting for right now are strictly for the American descendants of chattel slavery, or foundational Black Americans or Native Blacks. Now, we don't deny anybody else's justice claim. It's just that right now we are in trouble as a race, as a community, as Black people. The median income for Black families are like $15,000. By 2050, it will be at zero. We can't afford not to have reparations. We can't afford for the check not to be cut. So that's why we're demanding these things. And that's why we're going to Washington, D.C. on the inauguration day, January 20th, to demand full and complete reparations for the American descendants of slavery whose ancestors went through slavery, went through Jim Crow, went through the lynching period, went through redlining and redistricting, went through the era of mass incarceration, the Great Recession, right? Jim Crow. That's a certain lineage of people who need specific policies because they've been denied generational wealth. They've been denied economic justice, political justice, employment discrimination, banking discrimination, you name it. And then people get mad and say, it's only for you guys? Yes, because slavery was only for us. In America, Jim Crow was basically only for Blacks and was targeted at Blacks. So when the Japanese went through internment camps, the American descendants of slavery didn't get any cash payments or any type of reparations for what the Japanese went through. So why should other people get reparations for what the American descendants of slavery went through? Now, it's not xenophobic, it's just saying when we say reparations, we're talking about reparations for the American descendants of slavery. Now, if you have a different justice claim, we're not trying to get in the way of that. We're just focusing on ours. And when we come out to rally or do things, we want you to recognize that. Because most of these police brutality rallies are based off the Black backs of Black men and women, mostly Black men. So we want to make sure that our story or the issues that are important to Black lives or the Black community or foundational Black Americans are front and center. Or people wouldn't be, Joe Biden wouldn't, man, and it's not good. George Floyd's death propelling Joe Biden to the White House, right? George Floyd, the energy from defund the police, propelling Joe Biden to the White House. We're in Black Lives Matter Square dancing and celebrating. He's saying he doesn't support defund the police. He rode in off that energy. And I'll say it again, without Detroit, there is no President-elect Joe Biden. right? Without Detroit, there is no president-elect Joe Biden. Without Atlanta, there is no president-elect Joe Biden, right? So now we're saying white women voted at 52% for Donald Trump. That's a little more than half of white women voted for Donald, that voted for Donald Trump. 46% of white women voted for Joe Biden. 90% of black women voted for Joe Biden. 80 to 90% of black men voted for Joe Biden. So Joe Biden needs to repay. Voting is an exchange. It's like a transaction. So it says, if you support my issues, I'll support your candidacy. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a quid pro quo. That's a righteous quid pro quo. So yeah, that's who got Joe Biden into office. And now we're coming out to DC to demand full and complete reparations. Pure reparations. Pure reparations is direct cash payments. So we'll be coming to talk about that on January, and we'll also be coming to demand police accountability, right? We got to do that. Also, man, I'm trying to get a quick break in, but there's so much that keeps coming. Black Lives Matter DC sent out a letter saying that the national chapter doesn't speak for everybody. And I think that that's key for people to talk about. Big respect to the people at National and others. But when we talk about reparations, like they sent out a letter this week about reparations, but they were raising money for something. So, I mean, it's good to do that. But when we talk about reparations, we're talking about reparations for the American descendants of slavery, chattel slavery in the United States. Okay? So that has to be clear when we're talking about these things. We're going to jump into some quick music and we'll be right back after this. Yeah. So, like I was saying earlier, we're organizing some rallies out in Washington, D.C. It's going to be a 2-day event. I'm really excited about it. I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to the New Black Media. I was trying to get some of them on the show tonight, but we had a couple technical difficulties. So hopefully we can put that together for next week. And we'll be discussing, it's going to be a 2-day event. And it's going to be in Washington, D.C., and it's going to be focused on reparations for the American descendants of chattel slavery. Okay? So that's what we're going to be doing. And that's happening January 20th through the 22nd. Right? So we're really excited. We're really excited about that. So yeah, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're just talking to the audience on Facebook about some of the events and some of the things we have coming up. Another thing that was interesting that I found interesting this week is some of the black campaign people who work inside Democrat Party campaigns are trying to get White House positions. And they started pushing back and saying, hey, I should get hired, or these persons should get hired. or there's qualified black people that should get a job, right? But I think, and I hope black people get to be in part of the Biden administration. You guys worked hard. But what I really hope for is that we as a collective can come together and demand and ensure that Joe Biden comes with policies specifically for the American descendants of chattel slavery like pure reparations, right? Like housing policies that are going to help us. So yeah, it'd be great to see you in the White House. But what will be even greater is to make sure that the American descendants of slavery are finally getting redressed for our 400 years of contributions to this country, right? We've been contributing to the American economy for 400 years, but we haven't been able to partake in the American dream. So another event that's coming up that I'm really excited about and that we've been doing for about a year here now is the St. Paul Recovery Act Book Club. We'll be going over some pieces. We'll be studying the civil rights era. We'll be studying some of Martin Luther King. We'll be studying last book club we went through like Rosa Parks, Racy Taylor. Now we're moving up a couple of years and we're getting into the civil rights movement. So we'll be talking about that. For more information about that, you can go to the Eastside Freedom Libraries page and sign up, or you can also go to some of the other pages that you'll see that there. You can see that on my page. If you go to Trahern and Star Cruz, you'll see a link for that book club meeting, and you should RSVP for that. But make sure that you read the material before you get on the call so that you understand what we're talking about and that you can contribute in a meaningful way. We're going to jump into some more music right here, and then we'll be back to discuss issues that are important to you right here on the Trahern Crow Show, 94.1 FM, Frogtown Community Radio.
Hi, everybody. This is Minister Toya Woodland, and Trahern is having some technical difficulties, but we're going to continue till he comes back. So like he was saying, we're having a huge reparations rally on the 20th of January in Washington, D.C. And we are really excited about that. We're excited about the change that is happening and change that's going to come. A lot of good things going on. This is Minister Toya Woodland, and Trahern is having some technical difficulties, but we're going to continue till he comes back. Hey, Kiana, thank you for coming back.
I'm sorry.
Holding down space until we can get Trahern back. So go ahead and talk about your event and just do some current events until Trahern comes back. Do you mind?
I don't mind. Okay, so the event that I am hosting, we have to actually change the location, but once we do that, I will do a new finalized flyer to share around. But we're gonna move it to the St. Paul Police Department. Once I get the address, I'll send it up. It's basically to defund the police because, as we see, they continue to shoot and kill Black people out on the streets. At first, it was talking about how the Minneapolis Police Department got additional funds and how they weren't taking care of the people affected by COVID, and that still is the case. It's the case, but I kind of want to highlight the fact that just last Saturday, Joseph Washington was actually shot by the St. Paul Police Department on Rice Street, and how clearly our voices aren't being heard. During the uprising of George Floyd, our voices weren't being heard clearly, so we have to be back out on the streets and continue to be on the streets and fighting for what we believe in and what we think needs to happen, and that definitely means defunding and reforming the police system. Just December 4th, for some current events, a young man, his name is Casey Goodson. He was actually shot 3 times in his back when he was walking through his front door, and the U.S. Marshals apparently mistook him for a fugitive, and instead of asking his name and for his eye identification, they just automatically shoot 3 bullets into his back, which obviously shows that they racial stereotype, and that's how they operate. Like, no matter what, if you're a Black person and you fit the description, you're automatically a target. And they didn't even give him a chance to explain who he was. They said he had a gun, but it turns out he's actually just eating his lunch and walking through his front door. So I don't know how you can really mistake a sandwich for a gun, but apparently that's what they did. The media and the police department and the community where he was killed are actually trying to lie about the circumstances, and his family is trying to get out the real information, which was he was mistook as a fugitive and he didn't have a gun, and he was shot in his back 3 times in his doorway through a screen door. Like, it wasn't even like he was walking up to his door. He was basically in his house. So it's kind of similar to Atiana Jefferson and Breonna Taylor's stories, where they're in their own house and they're still not safe. So him walking through his own front door and being shot just shows like that we are at risk in our own house. We're at risk. Sorry, one second. Yes, this is Trahern Cruz's show, so we have to, if you can look down there, you can come support his show. So yeah, like I said, we are not safe in our workplace, we're not safe on the streets, we're not safe in our cars, and we're not even safe in our own house, which is supposed to be our #1 safe place. And as you see, as the cases rise in police brutality, the more they're showing that we are being shot in our own safe place. Trahern talked about Obama's comment about defunding the police, and I said that I thought that was very out of line of him, because Obama is supposed to, he's a Black man, isn't he supposed to be on our side? Isn't he supposed to be supporting our thoughts? And he believes that there has to be some reform, so I don't know why a slogan of defund the police is so detrimental to him, and why he thinks it's so out of line, and how we lost a big audience. And in my opinion, the only audience that we lost was the white audience, because they're the only people that seem to be so against defund the police because they're not the ones being targeted. So of course it's gonna make them more mad than the Black community, because in my opinion, we all want to defund the police and reform the system in a way that there's no biases, there's no targeting, there's no stereotyping, and that we're all I guess treated equally. And I don't think that the police serve and protect Black people the way they're supposed to. Everyone can see that. The people that don't see it are clearly blind and don't care to look outside of the box and have an open mind and actually do their research. They believe that the Black people are doing something wrong, which is never the case. And even if we do something wrong, why don't we get the same opportunity to plead our case like a white man does when he does something wrong? And then I'll find another current event that I actually seen earlier. Oh, I actually kind of want to talk about COVID-19 because that was the original plan for my event. In Minnesota, the people that are mostly affected are the Black community. And so seeing how the state wants to fund the police, and instead of funding those in need of houses, food, clothing, they just pushed the community aside. And they said that they want to work with the community. After the uprising of George Floyd, they said they want to work with the community to be on better terms or something, they said. And in my opinion, rewarding them $500,000 has nothing to do with the community safety, has nothing to do with taking care of the community. So where in that situation are they working with the community to, I guess, better the relationship with the community and the police? There's no, in my opinion, your little lies that you tell us are actually going out the window. And now that you have $500,000 extra in cash, I just don't believe that the police are going to ever be on our side. And seeing that they're actually kicking people out of the encampments is actually crazy to me, because you're not funding them housing, even though you're evicting them because they can't make money because of COVID. So why are you kicking them out of their only source of shelter? It just shows that the majority of those that are homeless or houseless are Black, and that, again, the community in the state of Minnesota and the police department, all the people don't really care about the people that are houseless because they are Black, and we will always be considered at the bottom. So in my opinion, I'm thinking you could have used that $500,000 to get some sort of shelter. I was thinking about how the fact that I lost my train of thought. Oh, it's good. It's winter, and in Minnesota, obviously the winters are crazy. So the $500,000 could have gotten them some heat, some places inside. Sleeping in tents in negative below 30 degrees is not safe. People will die, and I just see that they do not care. Another current event, I can say, Trahern was talking about on his show how they're working with DC to plan a 2-day event, which I think is really great. I hope I can make it out there because I want to show my support. It's important that Biden knows that the first thing that he needs to do is pay the descendants of chattel slavery, which is Black people who are descendants of those who were slaves. They have to be paid what we have missed out. We have been through so much over the years in history. We don't have all of these other communities that didn't go through what we went through, have all of these reparations, but still to this day, Black people or ADOS community do not have the same, I guess, money. We don't have the same funds that they have. And to me, that is crazy. And Biden wants to say that he's for the Black people and for the ADOS community. Well, we want you to prove it, because in our opinion, we don't believe that, because you have proven in the past that you say one thing and you don't really mean it. And so we are having these 2-day events to have our voices heard and let Biden know and Kamala Harris know that we are your top priority. So once you give us our reparations, then maybe you can be a good enough candidate, and maybe you will be the president that we see was actually for us and not against us. As you see, we didn't actually get the opportunity with our first Black president, Obama. We didn't get a chance to get reparations because I personally think that we were so excited that we finally had a Black man in power that we kind of pushed aside that we needed our reparations. And so now that Biden is in office, or will be in office, and majority of Black women and Black people voted for him, we need him to know that our votes matter. Our votes matter, and he got you to the place that you got. So give us our money and give us reparations. We're sick and tired of being pushed to the side, and we want you to actually take what we say seriously, instead of sitting there and saying, yes, we will do it, and then it never gets done. You have 4 years in office. We want our reparations as soon as possible. We don't want to wait 4 years, because we don't want to be pushed aside, and we don't want our voices to not be taken seriously. So I think that this 2-day event is a really great opportunity, and I hope people set aside some time to come show out. It is in DC, but I know that they're working hard and finding ways to make it accessible for everyone to get there and be there and support. And the more people we have, like I said, we come in numbers. So the more numbers we have, the more voices we have, the stronger impact we have. And maybe, just maybe, we can get our reparations. Maybe we can get some sort of things more in our favor for once, instead of just sitting on the sidelines and watching everyone else benefit from something when we don't really benefit from that thing. So I think that's extremely important. And since I am in the youth committee, anyway, so since I am part of the youth community, I am trying to push people to understand what reparations means and what it means for the ADOS community, because the youth is the voice of the future. So when we are out here spreading things, it will have a much bigger impact if it was just certain people saying it. So for the youth, I think reparations would be definitely debt-free, like pay off our school debt. Like, I'm in debt, so I want my school to be paid for. I want my debt to be canceled. I think that Black students of the ADOS community should be going to college for free, because we have a less chance of actually going to college and finishing high school, just because of the redlining, the systemic racism, all of the above. So having some sort of reparations that benefit the youth community is very important for me. So I hope Biden actually sticks to his canceling the debt, he said. So I hope he sticks to that, because that would definitely benefit the ADOS youth a lot. I would benefit from it. I know a lot of my friends would benefit from it. My siblings could actually go to college and not have to worry about being in debt like I am. Just the fact that these reparations isn't just something small and something light to us. It's actually something big that can change our lives and create so many opportunities for us, so we can strive for once in America, because we haven't been able to strive the way that all these other ethnic groups have. Definitely not how the white people have. They have everything handed to them, and I'm just kind of sick of it. So if Biden can ever see what I'm saying, is we want reparations, and we want it now. We want money, we want it now, and we want to actually be seen as actually equal for once. But yeah, so I am actually done talking here. Trahern will be here in about a minute or so. Again, this is the Trahern Cruise show, so support it, share it, spread the word. He does such a great job. So yeah, thank you everybody.